So at Travel Insights, we converse with our guests who are normally stalwarts, game changers, torchbearers of the travel and tourism industry. And today we have one such torchbearer, game changer, and a stalwart of the travel industry, Mr. Ajay Prakash. Ajay is the chief executive of Nomad Travels Mumbai, which he set up in the year 1988 after working for 8 years with Air India in their commercial department. Nomad Travels specializes in corporate travel and custom designed tours and leisure packages, unique experiences in India and overseas for the discerning traveler. Ajay is the founder president of IIPT India, the International Institute for Peace through Tourism India chapter. IIPT is a 35-year-old global organization based on a vision of the world's largest industry, the travel and tourism industry, becoming the world's first global peace industry, and the belief that every traveler is potentially an ambassador for peace. Ajay is also currently the president of TAFI, the Travel Agents Federation of India, and is a former deputy chairman of the WTAAA, the World Travel Agents Association Alliance, which is a global alliance of travel agents associations from Europe, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and of course, India. Ajay has participated in various tourism industry meetings across the world, including addressing the European Tourism Forum in Bordeaux, France, and has often featured on national television as an expert on aviation, travel, and tourism. Ajay is a graduate in history honors from St. Stephen's College, Delhi, and holds a master's in English literature from the University of Rajasthan, Jaipur. He also has a very unique hobby. He's a kite enthusiast. He has attended many kite festivals overseas and of course in India, and has organized international kite festivals like the Desert Kite Festival in Rajasthan, the Taj Kite Festival in Agra, and the Goa Kite Carnival in India since 1997. Welcome, Ajay. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Amish. Thank you for that lengthy and flattering introduction. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
No. So, Ajay, 1988, you turned entrepreneur, but you were in the industry 8 years before. So we're looking at almost 40 years in the travel, tourism and hospitality industry in India, and 40 years where you've seen, I guess, every single thing change. So why don't you take us through this journey of yours, how things have changed, how things have evolved, how the industry has adopted new methods of doing business, how it has adapted to the changes and challenges which have been thrown at it.
The first thing that's changed, of course, is the volumes. You know, when I joined the industry in 1980, the volumes were much, much smaller. The number of airlines operating in India was much lesser. You didn't have anything called an LCC. You had an airline. You also had a relationship between airlines and agencies where we knew each other, where the airline knew the agent's business, the agent knew the airline and its strengths. And we worked largely, I would say very largely, in harmony with each other. All that's changed radically. The number of agents has increased, the number of airlines has increased, the number of flights and destinations being connected within the country has increased exponentially. Technology has changed everything as well. But what's happened is that the personal connections that used to exist have really gone out the window. Consolidation has made the small or mid-sized agent almost faceless. There is no direct relationship with the airline anymore. And most importantly, the passenger, the customer herself or himself has changed dramatically. Originally, when I started out in business, the travel agent was the recipient of esoteric knowledge. Nobody else knew how to make flight connections. Nobody knew how to make hotel bookings or visas or any of that. So we were the repository and the trusted intermediaries, as it were, who put everything together for the passenger. Today, most passengers know more than an agent about the destination that they're planning to visit, because information is available everywhere. So there was a time when people said that the death of the travel agent was imminent. I'm talking 15 years ago. But that hasn't happened. So obviously the agent has also learned to adapt and survive. And not only survive, to become a specialist. Because the tremendous amount of information that's available on the web also needs someone to sift through it intelligently. And not everybody can do that. So, yes, I mean, the agent has changed, the business has changed, the customer has changed, everything has changed. What has not changed is the innate human need to travel. And that's what keeps us going. So, yes, 40 years has brought a lot of changes. And I think it's going to change even more rapidly because the way technology is evolving, I mean, a couple of years down the line, everything might be different. As it is, most business is being done on that mobile phone. Soon you might have a bionic entity where you don't even need to hold that phone. Everything happens inside your head. So yes, we need to be prepared for these changes if we're going to stay in the business.
So you mentioned about the customer. And that's something which I'd really like you to throw some light on. How have customer preferences changed? How in what way has it changed? Of course, they have a lot of knowledge, but do you now feel that even the way they used to look at planning a trip has changed?
Oh yes, Amish, because you see, there was a time when the Indian or the Japanese, they epitomized it really. Go, cover 10 places in 7 days, go click, 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 and then go back home and look at the photos. That's infra dig. I mean, nobody does that anymore.
Right.
Everybody wants a much more unique, immersive experience, something that's special. Now, you mentioned my love for kites. People like that have, somebody has an interest in archaeology, somebody has an interest in anthropology, somebody loves textiles. So if they're going somewhere, they really want to use that time, not just to go sightseeing, but to perhaps enhance their own knowledge, their own experience, their own understanding of what they love. So every trip needs to be crafted keeping in mind the personal preference of the traveler. You can't have a one-size-fits-all situation solution anymore. I think that's the biggest change in the way we plan trips. So, for example, I mean, yes, you can do that. It sells with your eyes closed, the Golden Triangle, Delhi, Agra, Jaipur. But then you say, okay, there are certain sites in Delhi which are not so visited. I mean, there's a Kamali Jamali, there's lots of little places, which if the person is interested in history, if, for example, they've been reading William Dalrymple, then they know there are certain things in the Red Fort. Now, yes, you could drive past the Red Fort, but if you have the time and the inclination, then okay, we'd structure something special for you there. There are, lovely old Havelis that have been restored in Chandni Chowk. So a dinner on one of those with the history of the place, the host telling you about. So yes, I mean, you need to keep personal preferences, likes in mind when you plan a trip for anybody.
So basically the tick the box itinerary is gone and now it's more immersive experiences, which is what the customer is really looking at.
And the younger ones are even more particular because they do a much more extensive research on it. So yes, definitely. Taking bucket lists are out.
Yeah. So now coming to the situation in terms of the coronavirus, which has like really hit the travel industry hard. COVID-19 is like really, it had brought it to a standstill completely. What do you see as the future of the travel industry in India, say in the short term and the medium term? And how much time do you think it will take for the industry to revive and come back to what it was pre-COVID?
I mean, the industry's been shattered, across the board. Travel agents, tour operators, hoteliers, transporters, guides, the trinket sellers, the souvenir shops, everybody. But the domestic industry in India has picked up, I've been doing a bit of traveling since I've got both my vaccinations now. And a fairly, well, I think about 17 or 18% of our country's population is fully inoculated, and close to 60% has got one jab. So that's like heartening, because it gives a little more confidence. So all the flights have been pretty full, domestic flights. The holiday destinations have also been full. I was in Udaipur the other day. Good business. The hotels are finally doing again. The city hotels came up with the staycation concept, and occasionally on the weekends they're doing pretty well too. So the domestic industry has picked up a little, and will continue to do so as long as things stay on an even keel, and we're not hit with any more serious outbreaks. Yeah. But the international travel is still. I mean, we're at 15% maybe of what we were before the pandemic started, and it's going to take a while, because this requires a coordinated global government-to-government response. As the trade, yes, we can keep talking about it. You can even say, what's the point of issuing 5 lakh free visas if flights are not allowed to operate? But that aside, once things do start, and I expect that, once the Ganpati season is over, of course, we're then going to get into Navratri and Dashera and Diwali. This is now we're heading into the festive season. Yes. But if we see through the Ganpati phase successfully, I think the government will be looking at relaxing and opening out the Indian skies, like many of our neighbors have done. I mean, Thailand's done it, Sri Lanka's done it. So there is no reason why we shouldn't be doing it as well. But apart from opening up the skies, what we need to do is have a sustained, credible campaign which reassures the world that India is a safe destination. And that requires a complete effort, consolidated effort, concerted effort by all the segments, by the travel agents, by the tour operators, by their associations, by the hotels, and of course by the government. But if we do this right, I expect that within a year, I mean, let's say next summer, hopefully outbound should pick up a little, because people are waiting to travel. True. And inbound, if we play it right, next season, this one's gone. This one's absolutely gone. But next inbound season, that's starting October, hopefully we're going to see some movement, and we need to keep our procedures for sanitation, all that. There's got to be strict, rigorous implementation. Everybody says, okay, we sanitize our rooms, but what are you sanitizing your rooms with? Are you using a product that is actually doing the job? Is it like a branded product? Is it a reliable product? Or is it something you picked up off the Baniya's shelf? Mm-hmm. So, we need to put this kind of information out. I was talking to the Sri Lankan Consul General yesterday, and he was talking about what Sri Lanka is doing. And they said, look, I mean, 90% of the entire hotel, travel, tourism industry has been double vaccinated. I said, that's excellent. This is something you need to put out. Yes. Which is, we had asked for this as well, that tourism workers should be considered frontline workers. True. Didn't happen. But, okay, all of us have gone and got our jabs. So we need to, put systems like this in place and get the word out as well. That's going to be critical in terms of reviving movement, traffic, tourism, whatever.
So basically what you say is domestic is already on and it will steadily increase provided there's no third wave or anything of that kind. Outbound should pick up once flights start and countries allow us to travel, and inbound will take a little bit more time. But then what about other sectors like MICE? What do you think would happen in the MICE segment, considering that those are large group movements?
Yes, absolutely. So again, this would depend on the people that are participating in such a movement. A, being fully vaccinated. That would be the first requirement. 2 would be the safety and security that they feel. I mean, people actually just need an excuse right now to get out. You've seen the hill stations. I mean, close at home, Lonavala, Khandala get packed. Right. Simla, Manali, Mount Abu, where I have a home. I mean, everything is packed. So people do want to get out, but they need a little more time to come to terms and to realize that around them as well. You see, I could be vaccinated, I could wear my mask, but if I walked into the Dadar market and found nobody else wearing the mask, I would be hesitant, you know.
Yes.
So everybody's got to follow certain protocol, be a little more conscious or responsible, because our actions affect each other.
Okay.
And therefore mice will revive, because again there is a pent up demand.
Right.
Of course, one doesn't want people to go in for this what is a really ugly term called revenge tourism. I mean, that is such an ugly term to use for such a beautiful activity. So yes, we can call it revived tourism, we can call it responsible tourism, but at least we within the industry should never use that ugly word, because revenge has no place in the business of tourism. Tourism is about connecting people, about building bridges, about connecting across any boundaries. Where does revenge come into it?
Yes.
So yeah,
misused term, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's the macro picture. Now coming down to the micro level, in terms of your company, how have you at your company planned to revive business, and what are the new offerings you are looking at to offer to your customers? And are you looking at exploring new skill sets for your team and for yourself during this revival process?
The first thing that we all need to do is get more tech savvy. Each one of us needs to do that, because that's your market now.
Right.
You know, people calling up or sending you emails is passé. So all of us, myself included, need to gear up our tech skills. That's the first thing we need to do. As far as offering new products, new packages, etc. Yes, we're working on that, because people don't want to go into like places that are seemingly crowded. I mean, the wildlife sanctuaries are a great option. So, and we've been doing wildlife tours right through. Similarly, you know, the smaller villas, I mean, Taj has come up with a lot of smaller properties, which are very, very exclusive, very beautifully done. You'd never find anything missing, which, you would expect in a 5-star accommodation. So those are the kind of products or packages that we're going to be working on. And along with that, we also need to learn to be more nimble, react faster to whatever is happening, whatever inquiries come in, whatever you're planning. I mean, you've got to be nimble. You can't take your time and say, I got this email, okay, I'll respond to it tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late. The attention span is so short.
Yes.
If you don't have something to offer then, well, I mean, the person is going to move on. So tech skills, nimbleness, more exclusive, curated, intelligently thought out, safe packages. I think that's what we'll be working on.
And what about customer communication? I mean, do you think now that will take a more important role as compared to price, product, or do you still feel it would be price, product, and then everything else?
If you don't have the product, everything else is irrelevant. You know, price is irrelevant. If I have a phone and you don't want to buy it, it doesn't matter whether I'm giving it away for free. So the product remains paramount. Next is being able to communicate what you're offering. So product, communication, and then price. There's people are willing to spend. I mean, they haven't been able to travel overseas. They're spending good money within India. That's one of the good things that has come out of the pandemic, which is that Indians have discovered India again. You know, they didn't have a choice. So they're traveling within the country. And some of them are saying, oh, I never knew this existed. So yes, that's one positive that's come out of the whole situation.
Right.
But yes, I mean, the first is you need to create a product which is in sync with what is wanted or is expected. 2, you need to be able to communicate that. And of course, social media plays a huge role in that. And then 3rd is the price. hopefully you will get the price you want, as long as people perceive it as value for the money.
So now, Ajay, coming to your role as the president of TAFI, you've just been elected once again at TAFI as its president. The times have been tough, very difficult for the last 1.5 years, and I'm sure coming in at this point of time, you will have your hands full. But then, like they say, cometh the hour, cometh the man, and maybe that's what you're here for. So tell us what are the initiatives you would be taking at TAFI to revive tourism in India, and also specific to the travel agency segment of the industry. So what are the challenges and opportunities you see for the trade, specifically in the airline ticketing and hotel booking segments?
Yes, it's a tough time to take on this responsibility, but it's going to be an interesting time because we have to reinvent the way we do business. When it comes to airlines, they've suffered as well. There's no two ways about it. But you can't have a situation where, because an airline went belly up, consumers' monies and agents' monies are held up. We've got this big problem where an IATA agent gives a guarantee and only then is allowed to do business, and most of the time restricted to the value of the guarantee that he or she has given.
Right.
There's no corresponding security that an airline needs to give. We've all suffered when Kingfisher went bust, when Jet Airways folded up, Thai Airways, Malaysian, Malindo, and we had a meeting with the Minister of State for Civil Aviation, General V.K. Singh, and this is one of the strong points that we put across to him, that the DGCA needs to be a little more proactive on this. When you give the license to an airline to operate within the country, now Jet Airways is coming back without having settled dues. I mean, there are crores that are owed to agents and to people. So there has to be a certain security mesh that needs to be set up. We suggested either it's an insurance, which could go onto every ticket, or there should be a float that is mandated by the government. IATA will not do it on their own, because IATA at the end of the day is a club of airlines. Like TAFI is a club of travel agents, IATA is a club of airlines. So it's totally biased in its functioning. But the government and the DGCA need to play a more proactive role, considering that we've had these busts in the not so distant past. The memories are still there. The cases have gone all the way up to the Supreme Court for refunds. And finally, the NCLT said 15,000 rupees is what every creditor will get on account of Jet Airways, which is bizarre. And the airline is coming back. Now, this is unacceptable. So we're working on this independently as well, but I think it will not happen unless the government takes a stand on this. And it has to be looked at as consumer protection, not just as agent protection. It's the consumer's money at the end of the day.
Yes.
So we need to work on that. The second challenge that we're facing with, and this is particularly so in India, is that despite the fact that the agent is IATA accredited, despite the fact that the agent has given a bank guarantee, there are a number of airlines which will not allow that agent to issue their ticket. Now that is insane. I am paying for a ticket up front. I mean, the people who've gone GoLite, which is one of the accreditation forms, are paying for their ticket up front, and yet will not be permitted to issue tickets on particular airlines. This defies logic. This is not happening anywhere else in the world. I mean, you have a value capping. This is the value to which you can ticket. It doesn't matter on which airline you ticket. Why should it be so in India? So this is something that we're taking up very strongly at the APJC as well. And through the WTAAA, we shall again try and get this, because Passenger Agency Conference has passed this resolution that the remittance holding capacity, you can ticket up to that value.
You can ticket up to that, yeah.
So why should it be different for India? we're actually encouraging our members to go out and issue tickets on their own validation, because that's the only way for the airline to recognize you as an agent. If you keep buying your ticket from a consolidator, you have no identity. So we're reaching out. This is one of the initiatives that we're taking. Then there is the thing of registering as an MSME, because there are certain advantages to that. You can get loans at a low rate of interest. If one of your corporates is not paying you, you can file a complaint, and the MSME mechanism will swing into action.
Yes.
So many of our members have not registered. We said, do that. Similarly, the Ministry of Tourism, you can apply for accreditation either as a tour operator or as a travel agent. As of now, there are 4,300 odd IATA agents in the country. There are like a few lakh non-IATA agents in the country. Can you guess the number of registered agents or tour operators with the Ministry of Tourism? 914.
Yes.
I mean, so no wonder nobody takes us seriously, because A, we lack the empirical data to tell the government what this industry is worth. How many people we employ, what is the foreign exchange we generate, what is the GST contribution of the travel and tourism industry to the exchequer. So we're trying to put this together. Both TAFI and TAI have already had a word with Jyoti on this. We're looking to first collect the data from our members, and we start with the base of 2018-19, 17-18, 18-19, because after that everything went downhill.
No,
so
correct.
If we're talking about reviving tourism, well, that's the least that we should be looking at to come back to. So we're asking for data from our members. This exercise should roll out very soon. Once we have that, then we talk to the transporters, then we talk to the hoteliers, and then finally once we've got a substantial amount of data, we want to get one of the large agencies, whether it's NCAER or it's CMIE, one of those, to collate this data, to put it in order so that we have a clear picture of what is this tourism industry that we keep talking about.
Yes.
Because when you go to the government, I mean, yes, I can tell them, we employ 1 in 10 people globally. Tourism accounts for 10% of global GDP and 6.7% of Indian GDP pre-COVID. But I need figures, hard facts, which you can hit with a hammer and they won't shatter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these are some of the initiatives that we're taking, apart from the fact that we're reaching out more to our members. Our chapters had been feeling a little neglected. They were not getting communication. So we've already, as the managing committee, we visited 5 chapters already when they had their chapter meetings, so that they get to know who's the president, who's the vice president, it's not just a name, it's a face that they've interacted with. So the idea is to bring a little more solidarity into the whole association and to share information. I mean, there is, every day there's somebody asking, can a B1, B2 visa holder fly to the US via? So we're sharing information. We're getting a totally updated, revamped website, which is going to have much, much more interactive components. So yeah, these are some of the things that we're doing basically to build confidence back that the association is there and the association has resources which can be used by every member to facilitate, help grow business. Yeah.
So we were talking about this whole thing about hard numbers to the government, etc. All the associations have been quite vociferous in asking the government for industry status for the travel and tourism industry. In your view, I mean, in just bullet points, if you could, what are the key benefits or advantages for the industry if and when the industry status is granted?
It's an if and when, fingers crossed, because this has been in the pipeline a long time. The demand has been in the pipeline a long time.
Yes.
So what it would do is it would ease things a little, because very honestly, we got no bailouts in India, unlike the tourism industry across the world, whether it was Australia or UK or US. I mean, billions of dollars were paid out for salaries as well. We were all left to fend for ourselves. Yes, I mean, we've all become Atmanirbhar, but we could have used a little help.
Yes.
So what it would do is, it would reduce the cost of finance to start with.
Mm-hmm.
For people who wanted to invest in plant, machinery, vehicles, etc., you would have finance available at a lower rate. The hotel industry, for example, would benefit because they would get electricity, water, etc., at a lower rate. And more importantly, once we are recognized as an industry, then whether it's the telecom industry or the construction industry or the telecommunication, whoever it is, they've all managed to create a lobby because they have this industry status and they have the facts and figures. We don't have a lobby. I go as TAFI, somebody else goes as TAI, somebody else goes as IATA. Yes, we have created FAITH, which is the mother federation for all the 10 large mainstream associations in the country. But we need more than that. We need actually to become a lobby, because that's what associations globally have done. They've evolved into a lobby group. We haven't done that. So once we can begin to do that, then yes, we can lobby harder for industry status, and having got that, lobby harder for the benefits that accrue from such a recognition. So it's a long road, but it's got to be walked.
Coming to APJs, there's been a historic change in the functioning of APJC in India, with associations getting to chair the APJC meetings on a rotational basis. What do you feel could be the advantages that could accrue to the trade with this development? And what do you feel are the important and immediate matters to be taken up at the APJC?
The first thing that needs to be taken up is this business of capping. Individual airline capping. That needs to go. There are a number of airlines who are in favor of this. There are a few who are holding out. Now, we'll have to tackle them one by one. At least the people who are willing to come on board with this should. Then we tackle the others. So that's something that needs to be looked at. The financial guarantees, the way they're structured, also needs to be looked at. We need to again go back. There used to be a company called IPP, which had talked about creating an insurance which would protect, which would go onto every ticket.
Mm-hmm.
It would protect the airline from agent default. It would protect the passenger from agent default, and it would protect the agent and the passenger from airline failure.
Right.
This was something that was in the pipeline, never fructified, unfortunately, because the problem with everything in IATA is that everything has to be agreed unanimously. If even one airline dissents, it's out the window.
Yeah.
So yes, now that we have an agent chairing the APJC, I think we should be able to take up things a little more forcefully. Unfortunately, the APJC has its limitations, because while it can make recommendations on every aspect of the agency program to passenger agency conference, that is the sum total of what it can do. Make recommendations. I've been at a PAPGGSC meeting where we presented the case on behalf of agents in Singapore many years ago. They listened to us, and that was it. Nothing. So this is, if you look at Resolution 824, which is the passenger agency sales agreement that all of us willingly signed and felt great about becoming an IATA agent. Man, that thing under the Indian Contract Act, I would deem as an unconscionable contract. It is such a one-sided contract that if it was challenged, it ought to have been challenged. Unfortunately, we were all like, when you go to buy a home and the builder sticks this agreement in front of you and you happily sign. Well, we did the same thing. And today, the unfortunate thing is that our agreements are not even signed by a representative of IATA.
Correct.
There have been so many changes that have come in. None of that has any signature. It is deemed to have been signed. I mean, that's bizarre, This system needs a massive overhaul. When BSP came in, we were told the advantage of BSP was that you would have neutral ticket stock, there would be no capping, blah, blah, blah. None of that has happened. I mean, we were happier dealing with the airline on a one-to-one basis. The airline knew me, I knew the airline. You gave your checks, you even told them, hold it for a day, and they did it. So what have we achieved? It's convenient for the airlines and it's convenient for IATA. It is not in the favor, or there's no benefit to the agents of this thing. And IATA puts its hands up every time you ask them, oh, but that's a commercial decision of the airline. Man, you are the guys who signed that agreement on behalf of your 200 odd member airlines. So you have to be responsible. Now, we went to the DGCA and we went to the Ministry of Civil Aviation saying, make IATA responsible for whatever they have signed. There's something called a general concurrence. I mean, where is it? Has any of the agents who's been, accredited lately even know that such a thing exists? We go and do business with low-cost airlines. We give them deposits up front. There's no agreement that you've signed with them. So, I mean, the way we're doing business is really insane. Yeah. And this needs to be addressed. When a new airline comes in, that's the time we can start to put our foot down as agent associations and say, look, we need an agreement in place before any of our members will deal with you. So, challenging times, lots of work to do. Yeah.
When you talk about IATA, what is your thought? Just a small thing, when you get onto the IATA agency portal, it's not called an agent's portal, it's called a customer portal. So are we their customers?
My good friend Sampath Kumar from Bangalore, who used to be General Secretary when I was President, wrote a number of letters to Alex Popovich, who was heading IATA, saying, I am not your customer, stop addressing me as one.
Right.
So, but you see, when Giovanni Bisignani took over as Director General of IATA, IATA became a profit-driven, not-for-profit organization. Okay? So, I mean, the bottom line is money. So, they treat agents as customers. I mean, all I pay to IATA is my annual accreditation fee. I'm not their customer.
Yes.
If anybody was the customer, it's the passenger, or I could at a stretch be called a customer of the airline on behalf of my passenger. IATA, who are they?
Exactly.
They're just this hollow thing which exists only to put agents down, not to help us. There was a time initially, I'm sure you remember, when IATA was the arbiter of justice. There was natural justice in the way things were done. All that's history, and the new breed of agents don't even know it existed.
Yeah, so challenging times. And before we wrap this up, I just say I give you a time machine to travel 10 years ahead, and you're in the year 2031. What do you see the travel and tourism industry in India and the world in 2031?
Wow. I mean, if one could predict that, I'd soon be a millionaire. What's going to happen, I think, Amish, is that indiscriminate travel will stop. Travel will be purposeful. It will be for a variety of reasons. It could be, family. It could be self-discovery. It could be any of those things. But what I do hope, very seriously, is that we who are in the industry look at the higher paradigm of tourism, which is, yes, of course, profit has to be there, because without that, you can't run a business. But more than that, what tourism does is it connects people across boundaries. At IIPT, we have this very short 10-line, it's called the credo of the peaceful traveler. And it says a few things, which says that, I promise to travel with an open mind and a gentle heart, to respect the cultures and customs that I encounter, to do this, that, and the other, and through my actions, and support businesses that, follow these principles. So the idea is that tourism, I mean, we're seeing what's happening around us, 21st September is the United Nations International Day of Peace. 40 years down the line, 41 years to be precise, I mean, peace is as elusive as ever. But we need to understand, and we need to bring home to each one of our customers, our passengers, our colleagues, that tourism has the power to connect people, and therefore the fear of the other, which is often the cause of all conflict, can be overcome when you travel. You meet people, you eat their food, you see their customs, you wear their clothes, you participate in their festivals, and then you realize that it might be a different color of skin, it might be a different color of eye, but in the end there is a huge commonality within the human race. We have the same ideas, the same aspirations, the same hopes. We want our children to get educated, to live a healthy life, to get, all those things. So that power of tourism to connect people across boundaries, across cultures, to heal the wounds of conflict, to help in eradicating poverty, to create more gender equality. These are all the things that tourism can do. And no matter what form it takes, whether it's going to be like the bullet train or the what's it called? Geez, the loop.
Mm-hmm.
Where people, the hyperloop, or it's going to be like virtual travel. I mean, my avatar can be in Tokyo, interacting with the geisha, whatever form it takes. I do hope that as practitioners of this industry, of this trade, we will make a conscious effort to A, create a greater environment of peace, and B, a sense of responsibility towards this earth, the only home we know. So if we can do that, it doesn't matter what form tourism takes.
I think that's a great thought to end the show. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having a chat with you. And for our viewers, we hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you did, please don't forget to click on like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, take care.